What if I told you the Memphis Grizzlies, yes, the small market team everyone calls an underdog, could actually turn into one of the NBA's biggest powerhouses over the next 5 years? And the crazy part is, it's not just about basketball talent, it's about money, big money, billionaire money. Robert Pera, the owner of the Grizzlies, just saw his fortune skyrocket by over $10 billion, and that changes everything. Stick with me, because what's happening in Memphis might rewrite the rules of how small market teams compete in the NBA. Setting the stage, why this story matters. When you think of NBA dynasties, who comes to mind? The Lakers, the Celtics, the Warriors. Big markets, big wallets, teams that could spend without blinking because they had the financial muscle to keep stars happy. But the story in Memphis? It's usually the opposite. Small market teams fight hard to build talent, maybe contend for a couple of years, and then eventually fall apart because money becomes a problem. Stars leave, ownership won't pay the luxury tax, and the cycle repeats. That's why this news is so fascinating. The Grizzlies might be about to break that cycle, and it all starts with one man, Robert Pera. Pera isn't your average NBA owner. According to Forbes and Bloomberg, his net worth has absolutely exploded. Thanks to a huge jump in Ubiquity, that's the tech company he founded, Pera is now worth around $37 billion. To put that in perspective, he's now the 6th richest owner in all of sports. While other owners are tightening their belts, Pera is basically printing money. And in a league where financial firepower can be the difference between keeping your stars or losing them, that's a game changer. The foundation. Memphis already has the core. Of course, money means nothing if the roster isn't there, but Memphis? They're not starting from scratch. They've already built a foundation that most teams would kill for. At the center of it all is Ja Morant. Love him or hate him, the guy is electric. He's the highlight reel every night, the heartbeat of this team, and he's locked in with Memphis until 2028. That gives the Grizzlies stability at the most important position in basketball, point guard. Next to him, Jaren Jackson Jr. You don't just stumble into guys like him. A defensive player of the year who can block shots, stretch the floor, and now, thanks to a massive $240 million extension, is under contract through 2030. That's 5 more years of one of the best two-way big men in the league. Think about that. A superstar guard in his prime, paired with a versatile all-star big man also in his prime, both locked up long-term. That's not a rebuild. That's a runway for contention. And the best part, their contracts, while massive, still leave room to build. Together, Ja and Jaren take up about 48% of the Grizzlies' salary cap. That's a lot, sure, but not crippling, especially when your owner doesn't blink at the luxury tax. The flexibility, assets, and ammunition. Here's where things get really interesting. Memphis isn't just sitting on 2 stars. They also have one of the most flexible rosters in the league. Other small market teams often get stuck with bad contracts or minimum deal players who aren't tradable. But Memphis, they've built a roster with actual value. Take Santi Aldama, a 6'11" big who can shoot threes and space the floor. He just signed a reasonable 3-year deal, exactly the type of contract teams drool over in trades. Or Brandon Clark, high energy, efficient, and still relatively affordable. He's the type of role player who sweetens any trade package for a superstar. That's the key. Memphis isn't just holding on to these guys for depth, they're keeping them as assets. So when, not if, the next disgruntled superstar decides they want out of their current team, the Grizzlies will be right there with the trade ammo to make a deal. And unlike other teams, they don't have to worry about the luxury tax stopping them. Robert Pera's wealth makes those penalties irrelevant. The owner effect. Why Pera changes everything. Now let's zoom back out, because this is where the story really flips. The NBA has rules in place to stop teams from overspending. The salary cap, the luxury tax, the dreaded aprons in the new CBA. For most teams, those rules are a death sentence if they try to spend too much. But for Pera, it's pocket change. Other owners look at the luxury tax and panic. Pera looks at it and shrugs. If spending $50 million more means hanging a banner in Memphis, history says he'll do it. This is where the Grizzlies' advantage becomes unfair. While teams like the Cavs saw their owners lose billions in net worth last year, Pera was gaining billions. That means Memphis doesn't just have the roster flexibility, they have the financial freedom to make bold moves without hesitation. It's like playing chess when everyone else is playing checkers. Now, you might be thinking, didn't the Grizzlies just trade away Desmond Bane? Doesn't that mean they're taking a step back? Not exactly. That move wasn't about waving the flag. It was about stacking draft picks, stockpiling assets, and setting themselves up for a bigger strike later. Think of it like loading the chamber. They also brought in Tumaz Isolo as coach, which wasn't a safe hire. It was bold, forward-thinking, and aligned with a long-term vision. Everything about the Grizzlies right now screams that they're preparing for something bigger.
So, what does this all mean for the next 5 years? It means Memphis is uniquely positioned to make the kind of aggressive moves most small market teams can only dream of. They can absorb contracts, swing for an all-star trade, and build around Ja and Jaren without worrying about going broke. It means they don't just have to be plucky underdogs anymore. They can be legitimate title contenders, not for one lucky year, but for an entire era. The grind doesn't just continue in Memphis, it's being supercharged. It's being bankrolled by a billionaire who actually wants to win. And in today's NBA, that combination of talent, assets, and financial freedom is the exact recipe you need to build a dynasty. So here's the big question, Grizzlies fans and NBA fans everywhere. With Robert Parra's billions and a young core already locked in, do you think Memphis has what it takes to become the next NBA dynasty? Or are there still too many hurdles for a small market team to really compete long term? Let me know what you think down in the comments. I read every one of them. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more NBA updates, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. The grind is real, and in Memphis, it might just pay off.